The idea that New Jersey Governor Chris Christie might possibly, maybe conceivably, weather permitting, think about running for president, even though he has said he won't a whole bunch of times, is one of the political world's most favorite rumors this campaign season. That rumor back in the news yet again today. Business Week reporting word from yet another anonymous Republican donor saying that Governor Christie is once again actively considering entering the race and will make a decision within a few days. That news about Christie's reported reconsideration of a potential candidacy being reported in the context of the larger dynamics at work in the Republican field right now. Notice that the Chris Christie rumors are almost always tied to a fundraiser of some kind. Either a fundraiser is the source of the rumor or fundraising itself is the substance of the rumor. It raises one really interesting point about all the Chris Christie speculation for the other Republican candidates. The third quarter for fundraising just ended. The official numbers aren't due for a few days yet, but a Mitt Romney spokesperson tells USA Today, quote, "We are going to raise considerably less than what we did in our first reporting period." The Boston Globe has reported as of late last week that Mitt Romney's campaign is on pace to raise between $11 and $13 million. That's a lot lower than the $18 million he raised last quarter. It's also much lower than the kind of money he was bringing in the last time he ran for president in 2008, when, as the Globe points out, Mitt Romney was relatively unknown on the national stage and was competing with a strong field of fundraisers. So Mitt Romney raising less money than he did before, meaning the previous election, and than he did last quarter. Mitt Romney's supposed to be the Republican establishment guy who has the Wall Street money all locked up. So if he's raising less money, if he can't raise as much as he did in 2008 or even last quarter, what's the problem? What's going on with Mitt Romney's campaign? The theory floated by the Globe, GOP financiers still not sold on Romney. Like maybe the ones who keep begging Chris Christie to run? While Mitt Romney is still not selling the idea of himself to Republican donors, he is still trying to appeal to social conservatives. Mr. Romney went on Mike Huckabee's Fox News TV show over the weekend and appeared to endorse a policy that Mike Huckabee has been lending his own star power to lately. It's a state-based constitutional amendment defining personhood as beginning at conception. That's a definition that is clearly aimed at banning all abortion outright. It is also something that could ban many common forms of birth control.
Would you have support of the constitutional amendment that would have established the definition of life at conception?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, not that it would have had an easy sailing through the Massachusetts legislature or public.
Probably.
I have to concede.
Yeah. I'm not sure what about the awkward fussing at the end was all about. But now somebody has to ask Mitt Romney if he really does want to ban the birth control pill, because that's what he just told Mike Huckabee. Everybody, follow up. Elsewhere at the top of the current non-rumor-based Republican race, the Washington Post ran a piece this weekend about the name of a hunting camp used by Rick Perry and his family. The name includes the N-word and was, according to the Post, painted in big block letters across a large flat rock standing upright at the camp's gated entrance. To be clear, it was not named by the Perry family. The place came with the racial slur name intact. Governor Perry told the Post that his parents had painted over the rock in 1983 or 1984, but quoting now from the Post, Perry's version of events differs in many respects from the recollections of 7 people who spoke in detail of their memories of seeing the rock with the name at various points during the years that Perry was associated with the property through his father, partners, or his signature on a lease. So what did the Perry campaign do about this bombshell revelation from the Washington Post? They said more or less the same thing to the rest of the press that Governor Perry told the Post in the first place. Maybe they were hoping Governor Perry's plan for invading Mexico would take over the news cycle instead, and everybody would just forget about the racial slur ranch thingy.
It may require our military in Mexico working in concert with them to kill these drug cartels and to keep them off of our border and to destroy their networks.
While the invasion of Mexico thing is a bold plan, did not make the entirety of the Beltway media forget about the giant Washington Post story about the Perry hunting camp with the racist name painted on the rock. One of the governor's rivals for the Republican nomination, Herman Cain, was a guest on a couple of the Sunday political shows, and he was asked to comment on the Washington Post story and the Rick Perry details.
The name of it, written on a stone, and was N. Head, but yes. Obviously it wasn't just N head.
Right.
And he was part of that camp, even as governor. Your reaction, sir?
My reaction is that's just very insensitive.
That isn't a more vile, negative word than the N-word, and for him to leave it there as long as he did before I hear that they finally painted over it, it's just plain insensitive to a lot of black people in this country.
It was painted over.
Yes, it was painted over, but how long ago was it painted over? So I'm still saying that it is a sign of insensitivity.
So here's the state of play. Mitt Romney is not meeting the fundraising levels he met in 2008 or even earlier this year, perhaps because everybody's still whispering and hoping about Chris Christie or anybody else. And that's apparently making Mitt Romney totally willing to sign on to any idea he thinks it will win him some support, including, at least it sounded like this weekend, suggesting that he would ban the birth control pill. Sure, please vote for me and make the money people stop calling Chris Christie. Also, Rick Perry has this whole racial epithet ranch thing to deal with. Those two things taken together mean that naturally, in Republican Party politics, big picture, naturally, it's been a really bad day for Herman Cain. What? Yes, Herman Cain. Herman Cain criticized Rick Perry's racist ranch name and the racist rock at its gates. And as you just saw, and then the conservatives piled on to Herman Cain. Rush Limbaugh accusing him of piggybacking on the Washington Post's smear of Rick Perry. Matt Lewis at the Daily Caller calling Mr. Cain's comments, quote, at best premature and at worst highly irresponsible. He goes on, quote, it was a cheap shot and perhaps is a signal that Cain is willing to play the race card against a fellow Republican when it benefits him. Eric Erickson at the conservative blog Red State calling it a slander that he said Mr. Cain was picking up and running with as a way to get into second place. And by this afternoon, the day after his original comments, here's how Herman Cain was handling questions about the Rick Perry racist hunting camp story.
His question was I satisfied with Governor Perry's explanation about the name on that ranch where he went hunting? And I said, yes, I am. Next question.
Are you disappointed that any of the other candidates haven't expressed similar reactions like you have?
Relative to
this rock on the Perry
no, it doesn't bother me at all.
Some conservatives have said that you bought into the liberal media trying to smear Perry unfairly as a racist. Do you think you played the race card? Do you regret at all what you said on Fox News Sunday or ABC?
All I said was the mere fact that word was there was insensitive. That's not playing the race card. I am not attacking Governor Perry. Some people in the media want to attack him. I'm done with that issue.
I'm done with that issue. So the story breaks that Rick Perry and his family have this land that's named a racial slur that's been painted on a rock at the entrance to the camp. Herman Cain raises questions about how long it took to paint over the racial slur. For example, questions that were also raised by the newspaper article. And Herman Cain says, hey, that seems pretty insensitive. And by the second full day of this story, Herman Cain is the one being forced to backtrack. Herman Cain is the one in political trouble. Really. America, meet the Republican Party. Republican Party, meet America.